Thank you everybody for being here, and hopefully this is the first of many many of these webinars that we're gonna do here at Aerowave. This is our kind of overview webinar about empowering your team with technology that protects people. I'm Will Young. I'm the CEO of Aerowave, and you can reach me on my email at this phone number, and then also on our website. We'll go ahead and dive in, and at the end we'll have some time for questions and answers. So if you guys have any questions, then feel free to put them in the chat. But we'll go ahead and get started. So Aerowave, what we do, primarily safety technology solutions. So that's primarily two-way radio, surveillance and access control, emergency responder, radio coverage, and cellular, bidirectional amplifier distributed antenna systems. We have over 35 teammates across 3 locations as of a couple weeks ago. We actually bought a company in San Antonio and Kerrville that is now part of our team here. So we have over 35 people across those 3 locations, so kind of across the state of Texas. We serve well over 1,000 clients, most of whom are in Texas, and then we do some nationwide opportunities and client base, including in entertainment and hospitality. But kind of our bread and butter is education, but entertainment, hospitality, healthcare, industrial manufacturing, which would include oil and gas, construction, kind of anybody who's in heavy equipment, heavy machinery, anything like that. Now government, and then which is part of what we added to our portfolio with the Advantage acquisition a couple weeks ago, and then religious and nonprofits, and then many other verticals, but those are kind of the primary ones that we deal with. We are a Motorola Solutions Platinum Channel partner and a Vigilon preferred partner. So that's kind of our primary manufacturers that we represent in terms of two-way radio and then surveillance and access control. And we're on the buy board, which especially for K-12 education and government and higher education as well, is a big big help for folks who are looking to find folks who are on a cooperative contract that they can work with. So that's a little bit about Aerowave. Today we'll go through kind of the journey that a client would go through, or a prospect or client would go through with Aerowave, and then we'll give you some examples or case studies, and 4 different case studies of how we work with our client base. And generally we follow more or less the same process. So the first step is to discover. So really this is where we feel like we try to do a really good job with our clients, which is to understand your issue that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, whether that's communication issues, whether that's not being able to see everywhere you need to see on the surveillance camera, whether or not that's not having emergency responder or cellular coverage in your buildings. We want to understand kind of at the deep level what's the underlying issue that you're dealing with, and then design a solution. I think a lot of times, other folks in our industry will jump to a solution, hear a very cursory issue, and then just say, here's a one-size-fits-all solution. We really try to customize or tailor our solutions for our clients that fit their specific needs. Then we deploy the project, and we want to make sure that you get a project on the timeline that you need to keep your people safe. And then on an ongoing basis, of course, we support and service those ongoing systems after we've sold them and supported them. And as your needs change, we have clients that will do a big project for them, and then they're adding new schools or building new campuses, things like that, or building new hotels, and so their needs change, and so we work with them on an ongoing basis. We think the 3 things that separate us from other folks in this industry are that we solve your unique problem. That's that discovery section. We care. We want to understand what your problems are and solve those problems for you, and that takes us asking that next question so we understand your specific issue. And then we carry a full solution set, whether that's camera, radio, access control, bidirectional amplifier. We want to offer a full solution set so that you can work on an integrated single pane of glass for your safety and security technology solutions in the future. So I'll give you some examples about how we do this and some different clients that we've worked with in different verticals over the years. The first would be, this is kind of a bread and butter, which is two-way radio. This would be Motorola Moto Turbo solution for K-12 education. What you're looking at here is a pretty large school district in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. On the left is the coverage that they had with their radio system before we got involved, and they had worked for many years with another partner in the space. And all those stars that you see, the black stars on the map here, are where their schools are. And so you can see the blue or purple is where you have great radio coverage, the red is good, and the orange is kind of spotty. And then anything outside of that, you're going to get nothing. So that's what they were dealing with. This is a large school district with tens of thousands of students. After we got involved, we set up a 6-site repeater system. And our competitors actually tried to put repeaters at every single location, meaning that we were able to cover everything they needed across 6 sites, as opposed to putting it at, I believe it would have been 18 sites. And yet they still got full coverage. So you can see every black star, every school is well within the purple section of the radio. So they had 600% increase in coverage and 100% increase in capacity by using a better solution, better system. And we were able to do it for a lot cheaper than our competitors did, because we understood, took the time to design the right solution for them. And this was the result, is a great system that works well for the school district. Next is a surveillance and radio system that we did, a Vigilon surveillance system and a radio system we did for a church not too far from our office here. So this is an existing two-way radio Motorola client that we started working with a couple of years ago, and now they're building a garage, a parking garage, and have put their entire church on a Vigilon camera system. And we are about to go and install the parking garage cameras. So that what you're looking at here is the design that we've put together with the Vigilon. Our engineering team here at Aerowave put together this map to show what type of cameras are going to be at each location. So this is, again, that discovery phase to make sure that we understand, hey, here's where we need to see at every part of the building, here's where we don't. And so we custom design a solution that works for you. This is an existing client of ours that already works on the radio side, and we're able to then integrate these things together. So we're going to build this customized solution, spend time, make sure you see this. If you're interested in cameras, that you see, hey, look, like I am going to get to see that hallway or that dark corner of the building where I've never been able to see before, where things have happened. The last thing we want is an incident to happen. And so we are going to take the time and spend the energy and the resources to make sure that you get a solution that fits your needs. The next case study here is a nationwide hospitality client we work with. They've got 22 locations across the country. It's a sort of a resort style, and it has some unique things to it that make it kind of challenging from a radio perspective. And so we've worked with this client for over 10 years now. And what we've done is we've set a sort of a standardized radio solution that we implemented here in the Grapevine, Dallas area. And then we've replicated that solution across all of their locations. So they've built 5 or 6 locations over the last 3 years. We've redone some of their kind of existing locations, and it's what you see on the right, this top picture is our technicians installing a repeater system in cabinets that is going to work across their footprint. So we've kind of standardized on the type of make and model of radio, the way the solution is going to be designed. We've actually been able to go into the cloud and update their network stuff through the cloud, and which is kind of all late breaking news for us, stuff that we've been able to pivot with them as a partner with them as a at the request of their IT team. And so we've been able to really, expand across all of these locations. And not only are we able to set up kind of the initial system, but they're very hard on the radio equipment, and they end up spending a lot of time, repairing radios. And so we have a program to repair their radios, which is the bottom pictures. Our technician, Patrick, is frequently doing repairs. So we've sort of customized the solution to be, despite the fact that, until 2 weeks ago, we were one location, we're able to serve this, nationwide client that has, kind of a unique set of circumstances that make it somewhat of a challenging solution. And we've been able to take over and work with them on a nationwide basis on both kind of the upfront and then ongoing, upfront construction, then ongoing basis to repair and service their locations, despite the fact that, we're a one location, now 3 location company. We're able to service this very large, challenging, client who really their biggest thing is keeping their people safe and making sure their guests feel safe. They're the folks that work at the hotel and resorts feel safe, and so that's the most important thing for us as well. And so we've been able to support them for years now, fortunately. Finally, BDA DAS. So this is another kind of solution that we offer. Folks often don't necessarily understand what this means. This is something that's come up a lot in the last few years. We're used to dealing with folks who need to push to talk and release to listen on their radio to talk to teachers or line workers or folks like that. That's not what this is. So BDA DAS stands for Bidirectional Amplifier or Distributed Antenna System. And so what that means is that at least in the state of Texas, and I think a lot of states across the country, any new construction and retrofit construction needs to have 95% or more of their footprint in the building needs to have adequate radio coverage for the police and fire departments, meaning that, in some of these horrible tragedies that have happened in schools and things like that, the police and fire radios did not work in the building. So a distributed antenna system or bidirectional amplifier is you put a mounted antenna, a donor antenna on the roof, and then you put one of these repeaters, which you could see over here on the right, the red box, and then run cables and distributed antennas across the building. So we basically go out and do a grid test, figure out if you're going to pass or fail. If you pass, you don't have to do anything. You pass. If you fail, then we'll quote and then install a bidirectional amplifier system, which then allows you to pass. And a lot of municipalities are requiring by law to get a certificate of occupancy. You have to have these tests done to show that you either pass the coverage or that you have a bidirectional amplifier and then pass the coverage. So we had a school that was redone, a school district here outside of Dallas that was redone, and the day before it opened, they failed. The day before school started in August a couple of years ago, they failed. They did not get a certificate of occupancy. And so we had to go out very quickly and put together a solution for them to get a bidirectional amplifier. They were able to get a temporary CO for a couple of weeks while we hustled to get them coverage in the building. And then they were able to get a certificate of occupancy and open the building. So it's much safer for the students. It's much safer for the faculty and staff to have these in place. And in some of these horrific tragedies, you've seen that the police and fire radios haven't worked. So that's, again, kind of that full solution set that we offer, for both radio and BDA DAS, which are somewhat similar but different, radio technology, but one of them is something you use on a day-to-day basis to talk to your people. One of them is to allow police and fire to talk in your facilities. And then, of course, surveillance and access control. We've done, lots of other of these types of solutions, but these are kind of just some high-level views of what we do and how we work with our client base. So, that's kind of all I have for today. Hopefully we'll have another one of these in a few weeks and be able to cover a little bit more in depth. This is a little bit more of an introductory webinar. We always want to finish with our core values. So, at Aerowave, our client is our North Star. We win together, we constantly improve, and we deliver solutions, not excuses. I think this is really everybody who works here really imbues these core values. They live by them on a day-to-day basis, and hopefully for our clients that deal with us, that work with us, that you get to see this, because what we do is challenging, and what you do is challenging. It's very, very important, and so we want to make sure that we serve you above everything else as a team, getting a little bit better every day, and we're not going to make excuses about why things, if they ever go wrong, it's not your fault, it's ours. We're not going to make excuses for that. We're going to make things. We're going to find a solution to it and get better. So, I think there's a Q&A section here. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Doesn't look like we have any questions today. If not, then we will go ahead and end it here. I will let if anybody wants to, feel free.
Will, a couple questions came in for you. You ready?
Oh yeah, sorry.
I'll field them for you. What's the typical timeline for installation and deployment?
Yeah, it depends on the solution. So, and thank you to whoever sent the question. And so the deployment and timeline, it can vary depending on the scale of what we're trying to do. For radio, we really try to keep a lot in stock, of kind of the normal stuff that we do. So we keep repeaters, we keep radios in stock. So we can usually deploy within 2 months for a large project, 3 or 4 for a very large project, meaning several different sites linked together. And, if you needed, let's say you needed 20 radios and you ordered them today, like we could probably get them to you tomorrow or the next day, depending on if we have programming and FCC licensing and stuff like that. For cameras, since they're so customized, it can take a little bit longer. You're probably talking 2 to 3 months, and that's assuming you can get into the buildings and things like that. BDAs are, for a single location, it's probably a month, depending on the fire marshal typically getting you approved. But if the fire marshal works cooperatively with us, then we're talking a month and a half probably to deploy. If you're talking many buildings across different jurisdictions, it can take longer. But we try to be ready to go with both technician availability and inventory, so that we can get projects deployed in a hurry. We know that folks, when they need something, they need it quickly. So that's one of the things that we, really pride ourselves on is being ready to go in a hurry.
Another one for you. Can you work with our existing infrastructure, or do we need to start from scratch?
Yeah, so it sort of depends, but usually we can work with your existing infrastructure on radio, especially if it's Motorola equipment already. Then the good thing is it's very easy to modularly add things, and if it's something that we've worked with you in the past, then it's typically quite easy, because we kind of try to create building blocks for the future to add on things later that are not going to require a massive overhaul of your system. On the camera side, I think one of the things that Avigilon, which is our preferred manufacturer for cameras, most manufacture cameras, even if they're not Avigilon, you can inject licensing into those cameras and put them into an Avigilon server, an Avigilon cloud solution, and you don't actually have to take over the entirety of the system, or you don't have to rip and replace all the cameras. Unlike some other manufacturers, you do have to do that. So that is usually pretty easy to work with the existing infrastructure. Of course, if things are not working already, then you might need to change some of those parts and pieces, but usually we can work pretty well with existing equipment and get you a solution. BDA is not really relevant. BDAs are you just need to put in a repeater system. You're either going to pass or you're going to fail. And if you pass, you don't need to do anything. And if you fail, you're going to have to put in a repeater system. So that's, so it's, I guess it's a little longer answer than maybe initially seems. It just sort of depends on the situation and the solution that we're talking about.
Last question for you. You might have already answered it, but what is BDAS exactly, and how can it help?
Yeah, sure. Good question. I think this is something that folks get confused about a lot. So BDA stands for bidirectional amplifier. DAS stands for distributed antenna system. They're two sides of the same coin. There's two types. One is emergency responder, which is probably the most common one that we see. So it's basically emergency responder, meaning police and fire. Usually it's governed by the fire marshal in a municipality. And so if a fire department, fire marshal cannot use their radio within call it a school or a hospital or something like that, they'll go in and they'll do a grid test, meaning they cut your building into 10 foot by 10 foot, 100 square foot grids and literally walk in between each grid and do a test. You can see this in this prior slide. These are the grids. And so you can see that these ones passed, these green ones, and then this red one failed. These two red ones failed, meaning that 18 out of the 20 points passed, which usually the threshold is 95%. And so if your police and fire radios will work in 95% or more of the grids, then you will pass. Your emergency responder radio system will pass. If it fails, then a BDA is basically this bidirectional amplifier. It's putting a repeater on an antenna on the roof, which is what this picture here is. And then you put antennas inside the building into the troublesome areas. And that's how you boost the signal to have the emergency responder radio system work. And we're seeing a ton of this right now. It's a big push in the state of Texas. The other version of it is actually cellular. So we've started doing more cellular systems as well, which basically is the same concept. It puts an antenna on the roof and then distributes antenna in the buildings to get 4G or 5G cell coverage within the building, which has been really troublesome and for a lot of our clients because they have emergency alert systems, notifications. Motorola has one called Rave, which is a mass notification alert system. If you don't have cell coverage in the building, then that doesn't work either. And so we've started to see a big uptick and interest in that as well. So they're kind of both BDA, DAS. Usually we're talking about emergency responder radio. I know I'm using a lot of jargon here, but that's kind of mandated by the fire marshal. And then there's the cellular, which is something that I think our clients really see a lot of benefit of. And we've had a lot of success kind of in recently on the cellular BDAs as well.
I got one more for you that just came in. What ongoing support or maintenance packages do you offer?
Yeah, so we have something called Aerowave's added value service maintenance agreement. So we do, for a radio system, we'll come out and do a preventative maintenance once a year, more if you prefer. Usually it's for the repeaters because they're kind of the backbone of any radio system. So we'll come out once a year to do preventive maintenance. We'll also remote monitor them to make sure if they go down, like we'll see it, and then we can troubleshoot it remotely or send somebody out. And if something does happen, it goes down, then we'll send out a technician within I think 12 hours in business days. And then we do some of the same stuff on the cameras as well. So we've started more recently doing this on the servers and the cameras to make sure that the cameras are all working. And we've been to clients that will have a pretty good radio system or camera system, and then 10, 12, 15 of the cameras are just black. They've been off for Lord knows how long. And so we'll go out and we're trying to prevent that from happening because the last thing you want to do is invest a lot in a camera system and then find out that, that hallway where we had put up this camera so we could see this, it's been off for 6 months, right? Like we don't want our clients to suffer in silence and deal with stuff like that. So we'll do those kind of maintenance plans. There's some other things that we offer as well that are kind of connected to Motorola. There's some software and service type things called Moto Turbo Care to help kind of extend the life cycle of your system. And we'll package those together with the added value service that we do so that you kind of have the break fix side that we do and the software and service side that Motorola does so that you can make sure that the life of your system will last a long time.
That's all for questions. Thanks, Will.
Yeah, well, thank you everybody for being here today. And like I said, if you have would like to schedule an appointment or talk to us, then feel free to go to our website. We launched a new website a couple of months ago, and there's a schedule an appointment section. There's also a request a quote if there's something specific you're looking for section. But really appreciate everyone being here, and we look forward to connecting with you guys and hoping to help solve your technology and safety needs. So thank you very much.